Thank you very much for making a date on today's edition of the Marketplace. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Riafe. Coming up this afternoon, ECOWAS gives member countries up to 2020 to implement sale of petroleum products with low sulfur levels. Also in the bulletin, over 40 Ghanaian companies in Aberdeen, Scotland, as part of a trade mission to strike partnerships and explore business opportunities in the oil and gas industry there, will be live in Scotland with our correspondent for some updates. Plus, some residents of Kumeu in the Ashanti region accused Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry of alleged forceful eviction from their lands. We'll bring you details of that story also on this particular edition of the Marketplace. Don't go away. I'll be right back with the details. And now to the very first story. Ghana and other West African countries have been given up to 2020 to sell only petroleum products with very low sulfur levels with minimum specifications of 50 ppm. This is the uniform standard set by the ECOWAS member countries as a move to do away with fuel with high sulfur levels, which is said to have harmful effects on humans and vehicles as well. Now, speaking at the closing session of the Ghana International Petroleum Conference in Accra, former president of the African Refiners Association, Tony Uchechukwu, hinted that Nigeria and other West African countries have a grace period of up to 2020 to meet the new standards.
2016, when the roadmap was adopted, we did it deliberately out of a consideration of how long you will need between taking a decision to install a hydro desulfurization plant, because that's really what you need, and actually getting that plant built. And we saw that there was somewhere between 3 to 4 years required. And that was what informed adopting 2020 as the deadline for the benefit of the refineries. Now, as he has mentioned, when the public eye article was published, and there was a lot of emotion generated and a lot of publicity, adverse publicity, about the negative impact of high sulfur in products. Discussion then went on this way. Okay, since 70 to 80% of the products are being imported across the sub-region, maybe we can say that for all the imported products, adopt the 50 ppm straight away, but still give the refineries that period of 3 to 4 years so that by 2020 they will be able to comply, because they need to design the plant, fabricate the equipment, ship them from whatever they are being manufactured, and then install it on site and commission. So that 3 to 4 years, that was what actually informed the 2020 deadline for adopting 50 ppm in diesel and 150 ppm in gasoline. That was what informed it.
Now moving on, prices of petroleum products would witness some marginal reduction from the middle of this month. That's the assurance coming from Deputy Energy Minister in charge of Petroleum, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam. Fuel prices are expected to be reviewed from the 15th of this month in line with the every 2-week adjustment period. Petroleum products have witnessed sustained increases in prices over the past few months, resulting in transport fares going up. But Dr. Amin tells Joy Business government's forecasts suggest prices would be trending downward soon.
Today's prices are informed by their own expectations of the future. And so the Bank of Ghana, I am told, is making efforts to ensure that the BDCs do no longer use the forward rate. And the only way to do that is to ensure that the difference, the variation or the disparity between the forward rate and then the spot rate is minimized. I can assure you, by our projections, I can assure you that by next week, by the next window, we expect prices to start coming down. by our own projections. We've looked at the international market.
The crystal ball or glass.
We've looked at the trend in prices. We've also looked at the arrest of the depreciation, of the city, the marginal depreciation we have experienced in the city. And if these fundamentals are right, we should see by the next pricing window our prices coming down. But I want to clarify this. All these efforts government is doing, okay, is not oblivious of the fact that the international market out there is not in our hand. We don't have that control. And so if we have to build a confidence in our markets and in our institutions, because the pricing formula is developed by our institution, if we have to have confidence in it, then we will have to also bear with the market circumstances until such a time that government has to intervene. In doing this, we must debate as a country what price level beyond which should government intervene. We must debate that.
Have you settled on that?
We cannot settle that without consulting Ghanaians. And this is why I'm calling for that debate. If we do not agree to a benchmark price beyond which we will say, government, now go to the stabilization fund and come and intervene, then it means that we may not have money in the stabilization fund because we'll be using it all the time, and that is not sustainable.
Still staying further in the oil and gas sector, the total volume of gas exported from Africa has witnessed a significant reduction over the past 1 year. That's according to latest 2018 Global Gas Production Report. What does this mean for Ghana, even as it starts to increase gas production from its oil fields? Northern Aqua Hayford has more in this report.
The 2018 Global Gas Production Report was produced by the International Oil and Gas Producers Association, of which ENI is a member and currently operates the OTCP block in the country's oil field. The report tracked the production levels of countries in the region over the last year. It showed a drop in production export from 215% in 2006 to 150% in 2018. The continent, on the other hand, holds more than 500 trillion cubic feet of proven gas reserves, a development that points to a positive outlook for the region in terms of energy security. In Ghana, ENI will soon start commercial production of gas and plans exporting to Ghana Gas this year. Ghana's gas reserve of about 16 trillion cubic feet may help improve the country's energy mix and lead to some reduction in the cost of power production, which could possibly affect utility tariffs. The non-export of gas is to see prosperity for Ghana and the continent within the period as oil and gas collectively lead energy sources in the energy mix.
And it's still live on the marketplace, live on Joy News channel. Now, quite an extensive coverage of oil and gas stories. Now, over 40 Ghanaian companies are in Aberdeen, Scotland, as part of a trade mission to strike partnerships and explore business opportunities in the oil and gas industry there. The Petroleum Commission, which is facilitating the trade mission, hopes to link up the Ghanaian businesses with their Scottish counterparts so they could establish opportunities that will bring real meaning to efforts to make Ghanaians own a greater chunk of the country's oil and gas sector. Joy News' editor Israel Lai joins us live from Aberdeen, Scotland with more. Good afternoon, Izzy. Welcome to the marketplace.
Thank you very much, Rob.
All right, now, Izzy, what sort of companies are we talking about here?
The number of companies, we're talking about legal firms, we're talking about logistics firms, we're talking about maintenance firms, a whole lot, those procurement and all, a number of them. And we're also looking at, there's some that are new, but they also are very well established. We have one company that has been dealing waste for a long time. Now they started the oil, we started crude, they decided to go well. So then what to do is the ships get to, when the ships get to Tankali, they will go and take their waste products, process it, and take care of it, in a very environmental way. So we have companies like done shipping also here. Have there's several.
All right. Now, quite apart from the opportunities that could, accrue to both countries or even our business companies, are there any similarities with the Scottish oil and gas industry as compared with Ghana's industry?
Well, the Scottish oil industry has been around for like 40 years, so they're very well established. Now they're coming to a point where they're saying that they think they're saturated. So they're also looking to expand their businesses elsewhere. In fact, there's some of them that are already in Ghana, but they're looking also entering into joint ventures. As part of our petroleum, companies that do this necessarily need to have Ghanaian partnerships. Now, you can't just any Ghanaian company want to be sure you're dealing established is it, and so this is an opportunity for them to interface, because a lot of the time they come online, approach them, do business with them, only to realize that they're probably not legit businesses. But here, the petroleum has decided that they're bringing them businesses to Scotland, to Aberdeen, so then they can interact face to face with some of these businesses. We had a speed networking session earlier. In fact, it's going to be more, where the law firms, HR firms, investment firms, and all, sat across the table with some of these businesses that are back in Scottish businesses seeking back in Ghana, and Ghanaian businesses who are looking at striking partnerships with them.
All right, now finally, Izzy, what is the day's itinerary going to be like? What have you done and what is yet to be covered so far?
So we had where the Petroleum Commission table, they organized this. He spoke and introduced the people to the Scottish business, the opportunities that there are in Ghanaian oil and gas sector. And we also had the Deputy Minister of Energy in charge of Petroleum, Adam, who also came and spoke to people and talked to them and got them to appreciate how seriously government is looking at ensuring that we have content in the Ghana's oil and gas sector, so that the businesses or the oil and gas sector have a significant number of Ghanaians owning a chunk of it. It's early days and we don't have a lot of Ghanaian businesses owning that. But that's what they want to change. That's why they're bringing these two parties together. So they spoke with them. And then they also had a networking session where the Scotland Ghana interacted face to face. There's a panel ongoing, right? A panel discussion. We have the Chief of the Commission and the Minister, Deputy Minister, and essentially talking and telling them why Ghana is a place to do business. Thereafter, the people have an opportunity to ask questions. Then we're going to also have opportunities to visit Scottish business. So get to their businesses, get to their companies, get to see what they're doing, how they're doing it. There, your businesses can then pick up some experience. Over the next few days, we will have several workplace visits.
All right. All right, many thanks for your time, Izzy, and you take care of yourself. That was Joy News' editor, Israel Lai, reaching us live from Aberdeen, Scotland, where over 40 Ghanaian companies are currently in that country to strike partnerships with their Scottish counterparts in the oil and gas sector. Away from that, it is said that when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. Well, it appears that same can be said for telecom's giant MTN situation in Ghana. This is because the initial public offering may be causing some ripples in other sectors of the economy. Let's get you the details in this report.
Telecom's giant MTN is looking at raising 3.7 billion cedis in 2 months. For some, looking at the size of Ghana's economy, which is worth over 200 billion cedis, and the movement of cash in the country, this may come with some challenges. According to the Bank of Ghana, the city has not been spared of its share of problems because of MTN's offer. The stock market has not been left out, as MTN's IPO has seen some investors get out of the market or lessen trades just to get some money to buy MTN shares. Mahama Idrisu is an investment analyst.
I have historical information about MTN dividend. They didn't tell me anything going forward. What will I do? Let me stay with my EcoBank and just take my dividend. People may try to take their gains in order to buy into MTN. But if the company I'm going to get the gains is already doing excellently well, it becomes difficult. And so when I heard it on the 30th, I looked at the companies that actually lost prices. And even yesterday, you can't get much money from those shares listed, depending on the price and the quantity. You have to be able to go and buy MTN. All what we need to do is to dip down into our savings to be able to buy MTN, because it's good, the figures are good. It's an industry that sucks a lot of money from everybody, and you have to be part of the profit and the business.
Thank you very much, Mr. Idisu.
Others are also worried about how this could affect commercial banks that are also looking at turning their attention to the capital market to raise money to help meet the new minimum capital requirement of 400 million cedis. This is because local investors who may participate in MTN's offer may not be interested in any commercial bank's IPO or right issue. Whichever way you want to look at this, analysts have argued that benefits of this offer may be more than the negatives. This is because, looking at the way MTN is raising the required amount of money, it may end up bringing about 3 billion cedis fresh cash into the economy.
All right, now it's still live on the marketplace. Let's now turn our attention to some developments in the financial industry. The Bank of Ghana would from today realize funds from investors who bought into last week's 10-year bond. Government last Thursday raised 532 million Ghana cedis in terms of bids from investors, but just took 478 million cedis. So what was the cost of issuing this bond, and how would it impact on the cedi's performance? Now, George Riafe would help us to get some answers to these questions, and he's joined me right here in the studio. Now, George, can you give me some more details about this transaction?
So, if you first look at the calendar, where government is actually telling us how much they want to raise from the capital market, for those actually 10-year bond, they're looking at raising somewhere around 750 million Ghana cedis. But again, the approach in raising this fund, some will call the book building approach, gives us some understanding that, well, they always don't have a fixed amount. Depending on how the market performs or how things fare, they will then settle on the amount. Therefore, some people will look at this bond issuance and say, was it undersubscribed or what? Because the target in the calendar was around 750 million Ghana cedis, but the bids that came in from these investors was a little over 500 million Ghana cedis. At the end of the day, they took about 400 and something million Ghana cedis, as you actually said in your earlier intro. So those are the interesting stuff that are out there on the market, and whether it was undersubscribed and whether development on the US market has impacted on this whole pricing thing. But again, let's look at the cost of raising this actual bond, and you're looking at 17.5%. And if you still look around, some will say that it is quite expensive. The fact that over this years, every year, that will be the interest that we're going to pay on this bond to investors who actually bought into this offer. But interesting enough, some would say that it's still good development for the economy.
Now, how would it impact solely on the Ghana cedi performance?
Well, if we engage the Bank of Ghana and even those who played or actually helped raise this money, we understand 65% of this money came in from foreign investors. Most of the time, they'll bring in dollars to their local banks here to make the purchase on their behalf. These local banks may surrender some of these dollars to the Bank of Ghana. What that is doing is that, one, it will improve the position of these commercial banks, and also they might give some to the Bank of Ghana. What this is doing is that it is building our reserves. So for those who might be worried that, looking at the way the city is behaving, the Bank of Ghana might not have enough reserves, this amount of money that is coming in, though might be a little bit, will still go a long way to build the Bank of Ghana's reserves, also build the reserves of these local banks that play in the dollar business. So we don't have a situation where the banks are saying that we are putting a lot of requests to the Bank of Ghana, they are not getting the monies coming in. So indirectly or directly, it could go a long way to help deal with the city or strengthen steady stability that we've seen in recent times.
Thank you very much for that
you so
update.
much.
And that was my colleague George Riafe giving us some developments in the banking industry. Now, just before we go, some residents of Kumeu are accusing the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry of alleged forced attempt to evict them from their lands. They question Robert Ahomka Lindsay's decision to site a poultry farm in a residential area without proper land assessment. This is a story from Kumasi.
It's 10 a.m. Atakwajo is carrying out routine weeding on his farm. The 2-acre land is used mainly for cultivation of tomatoes, cassava and plantain. The rains haven't been friendly in recent times, and erosion is gradually making waste of the farm. He attributes the situation to clearing of this site.
We weren't
told of anything. We've been farming here for a long time. The 4-acre site, said to be owned by Mr. Ahomka Lindsay, is earmarked for a poultry farm. Delayed execution of the project has resulted in heaps of sand at nearby houses and farms. Besides, the initial owners of the land say they were served no notice of the project, let alone being compensated. We've been chasing them for compensation, but to no avail. Residents bemoan the lack of proper assessment before the land was cleared, adding the proposed poultry farm can pose danger to public health. Henry Kwabene Champong is a resident.
There are basic farms. There's no big, large farming here. People grow tomatoes, pepper, cassava, corn, or maize. You see a lot of things, oranges. Now you are going to site a poultry farm here. Whatever scale you build, it is going to have an impact on the people. The smell, the waste. What do you do with it?
There are 2 main roads leading to the site, a power line and the main demarcated road. Residents are happy the main road has been abandoned, while the concrete strip that served as access road has been destroyed. They say exposure of electricity poles to erosion is also a danger to life and property.
See how they can solve it. The official road, as you can see here on this paper I'm holding, this is the official site plan that I have. This is my copy. This is a copy. The original is with me, but this is a copy of it. Signed by Emma Sumedu Sechi, the latest Sumedu Sechi. And that shows.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap up here, and this is the Marketplace. It's been great having you on board. Let's meet again same time tomorrow for more interesting developments in the world of business. My name is Emmanuel. Have a good day.